Hey everybody, this is Carl. Welcome to Carl's Opinion, Tuesday night, late night call-in show. How's everybody doing out there? I see Solex, Rocky, how you guys doing? And to all those who will be joining us in a bit, and all those who will be joining us later on the replay, the rebroadcast. So, a lot of news to get to today. Like I put in the headline here, Rashida Tlaib versus Ilhan Omar. Who's your favorite? I mean, take a pick. I mean, these two are just trying to outcompete. Hey, Mr. Solex. But these two are just trying to outcompete each other for I don't know, like, for crazy, I guess. I mean, I'm not sure what they're doing, but I mean the video President Trump was referring to is the one from 2016 that somebody dug up when I guess somebody shot a phone video, and then probably remember they had it, from. And she was out there with a bunch of protests, and she was just bouncing them down, yelling and screaming like some child, like some little kid, like some teenager. This woman's in Congress now. It's like, oh my God, and it's just awful stuff. And today they had the anti-boycott, divestment, sanctions resolution that had passed the Senate, and the Senate was a little tougher for any companies that were that were part of the boycott, divestment, or any countries that were part of it either. And New York was pretty tough on it. Actually, Cuomo signed a pretty tough law himself I think by executive order. He actually put it in place. And then the House came out, pretty tough one. And then Ilhan Omar was going to have hers, brought before the House to have it, put on the floor for a vote. And a number of the Congress people, Democrats, said, that thing's dead on arrival. That thing's not going anywhere. And of course, it passed by like 398. I don't think I really the number was. I got it up here in one of the stories, like 389 to like 17. And of course, Omar and Tlaib and Ocasio Cortez voted against it. Now Presley, part of the squad, she voted with the other Democrats in favor of it. So I guess she's not with them on everything, so which is good. But yeah, I mean, there's just, and then and crazed lunatic Trump was referring to Tlaib at the Turning Point USA convention. He was there and he gave a speech. Of course, he got a great audience and stuff. No, it was during 2015. Oh, 2015? Oh, okay. I thought it was during the 2016 campaign stop, but okay, maybe it was 2015. Yeah, I mean, but she was just out there bouncing around, looking all kind of crazy and stuff, like again, like a teenager, not like an adult. You don't go around just yelling and screaming like that. I mean, you can protest, you can go to a rally and protest. Hey, go. God bless you. Go and protest. Hold up a sign. You don't have to be stupid though. You have a right to protest. You don't have to be stupid. And in these events, campaign rallies are not. Basically you have to get tickets to go to these things. I know because you go to their Republican Party headquarters, or during the campaign you went to the Trump campaign, and you actually sign up to get an admission ticket to be able to go in. So it's not like necessarily like it's open to the public, like it's anybody can go. I mean, pretty much anybody can go. You still got to sign up and get a ticket. So it's not like it's a public place or something like that. So if you want to protest, fine, but that's your problem. It was during a meeting Donald Trump had with business and economic leaders in 2015. Okay. Oh, okay. I thought he had a small little rally also. But yeah, just annoying. She's just an annoying person. So let's see what he had to say here. Let's take a look here. And there we go. Let me drop this down a little bit for you guys. Make it a little bit smaller so you can see it better. Oh, there we go. That might help just a little bit. Let me double check. See how it looks there. Yeah, it looks a lot better. All right, so crazed lunatic Trump says Tlaib not a sane person. This is by John Gage of the Washington Examiner. President Trump continued his criticism of Representative Rashida Tlaib by saying he had seen a video of her from 2016. Well, he said it was 2016, where she looked like a crazed lunatic. Then he goes on to say, "There's no way she stands for the values of the people of Michigan. But I watched her this morning. She's vicious. She's like a crazed lunatic," Trump said Tuesday at a Turning Point USA event. "She's screaming." This before she got into Congress. Who elected her? She's screaming like a total lunatic at one of our rallies. It's like I'm giving a little rally and she starts screaming. This is not a sane person, folks. Video from 2016 resurfaced this week of the screaming Michigan Democrat being forcibly removed from a 2016 Trump event. A bystander can be heard yelling, "You're an animal and get a job," as two security officials dragged Tlaib from the event. We covered this Sunday night, and I was joking that the guy who yelled "get a job," she was probably just walking around aimlessly, not thinking she had to do anything important. And this guy says, "Get a job," and next thing you know, she's figured, "Oh well, I guess I'll get a job." You know, so get a job as two security officials dragged Tlaib from the event. And Trump started a war of words to Tlaib, and calling for her and liberal congressmen to go back to their home countries. But yeah, go back, fix it, come back and tell us all about it. And then she responded, there's a now there's a beauty right there, boy. That ooh, imagine waking up every morning next to that thing. Oh my God, yeah. Boy, you don't need an alarm clock. You just like turn over to you and say, "Hey," you like, ah, you just freak out, like, "Oh my God, I gotta get up." Doing well. Oh yeah, doing good too, Mr. Rocky. Doing good too. See, I pushed Fox News to get the news right, and they corrected it for 2015. Oh, good deal. All right. So let's jump to the next goofy Tlaib story here. Let's see which one. Let's see which one do I go to? How about this one? This is stupid. Okay, well, everybody's going around talking about $15 per hour minimum wage, and Tlaib, not to be undone, says, "Well, I just make it $20 an hour, or I don't know, maybe 25. How about 30? Let's just kill the economy. $15, that's only going to destroy 1.3 million jobs. No, make it 20. Let's go for like, and wouldn't it just be like, double the amount or anything like that? It would be if you raise it to 20, you'd probably kill off about 5 million, 10 million jobs easy without blinking an eye. But anyway, so Rashida Tlaib's call for a $20 minimum wage tees up a great question for the next Democratic debates. This is also by the Washington Examiner by Philip Klein. Representative Rashida Tlaib said that more than doubling the federal minimum wage is no longer enough and that it should actually be $20 an hour. In the process of doing so, she has stumbled upon a great question for participants in the next round of Democratic presidential debates. Tlaib made the remarks in a talk with One Fair Wage, and they were captured by Republican opposition group American Rising. In the clip, she says, "By the way, when we started it, it should have been $15. Now I think it should be $20. Make sure America Rising hears that. It should be $20 an hour, 18 to $20 an hour at this point. They say all of this is going to raise the cost, but I can tell you, milk has gone up, eggs have gone up, everything's gone up, except for her IQ. Democratic candidates, including the relative centrist Joe Biden, have come out in favor of a $15 minimum wage, but given how in previous debate Democrats came out in favor of radical proposals, including providing free health care insurance to illegal immigrants, that had never really been part of the national conversation. It would be interesting to see, right? Because in other words, these idiots were talking about it, so then the candidates all jumped on board thinking they better, make the idiots feel good. Hey, Rita, how you doing there? Good seeing you, Miss Rita Evans. And all probably well. Yeah, doing good over here, Miss Rita. And including providing free health care to illegal immigrants that had never really been part of the national conversation. It would be interesting to see if any of the candidates would feel the need to join Tlaib's call for $20 per hour. If they do not support $20 per hour minimum wage, it would be interesting to hear all of them articulate on what basis they support a $15 minimum wage while believing $20 is too high. A recent study by the Congressional Budget Office, the CBO, found that raising the minimum wage to $15 would increase wages on the surface for the affected population, but as many as 3.7 million fewer people would be employed, or more conservatively, 1.3 million. Furthermore, it predicted the increase would reduce economic output, lower business income, raise prices, and reduce total real inflation adjusted family income by 2025 by $9 billion. Democrats tend to argue only the first part of the case, that it would, on the surface, increase wages. But they tend to neglect the offsetting effects. And namely, if everybody's wage goes up, well then, okay, if the guy's wages go up at, the grocery store, then the grocery store, if all their wages go up, the grocery store owner has to raise prices to cover the cost of the higher wages, right? So then the guy working at the restaurant, if his wages went up to $15 an hour, but he's got to pay more money at the grocery store because the grocery store has to charge more over there, and likewise the guy at the grocery store, now they're paying this guy at the restaurant $15 an hour. He's got to pay more for the cost of the food. So whatever little marginal increase he got, gets eaten up anytime he goes to buy something because everybody working around him is all making higher wages. So then all the costs go up and the prices go up. So it comes out pretty much a net zero. Actually, I think it came out to, wasn't a net zero, it was a negative 0.1%. Hey, Kyle from Actually give you a shout out at the end of the show. Kyle from Actually gives you a shout out at the end of the show. Oh, okay, well tell him, hey, thanks, man. That's totally cool. And let's see what else. New bar set by Tlaib would be a. So anyway, so the new bar set by Tlaib would be a good jumping off point for such a discussion. Yeah, I agree. And then let's see, what else does Mr. Tlaib have to say here? It only gets better. Let's see. There we go. Tlaib says the rich haven't earned wealth. You heard that from President Obama. It's like, you didn't build that. You didn't build that business. You know, those highways and stuff, that's what helped you build your business. He forgets that the reason why there was money to tax people to build the highways was because those companies had built wealth, and you could tax the wealth created by those companies to build the highways, chicken or the egg, okay? So he seems to think the highways came first and then people made money second. Well, no, you couldn't build the highways unless there was money. The money didn't come from the the money came from people making money who were then taxed by the government, and the government used that money to build the highways. See, that's kind of how it works. You can't. There's no. The government just doesn't create money and then people make money after that. No, they made money first. Then the government can come in and tax them and then build stuff. So she's saying here, Tlaib says rich haven't earned wealth, need it snatched via her bill in the House, I guess. That's what we do. That's what we do. It's like the old saying is like, are these people getting dumber or just louder? And the guy turns to him and goes, both. See, Representative Rashida Tlaib told the Detroit audience this week the rich didn't earn their wealth and need to have it funneled to others via her legislation. The Michigan Democrat told the NAACP convention this week that wealthy individuals are the target of her BOOST Act, which stands an acronym for Building Our Opportunities to Survive and Thrive, because their recent assets were acquired after the GOP tax scam. Yeah, all the jobs got created after that, too. Yeah, forget about those. She's got a job, so she doesn't care if everybody else has one. That's what we do with our public dollars. She said Monday we give it back to the people that earned it. The Democrats' comments also lambasted corporations. We're going to go ahead and put some of their tax returns in the pockets of folks like everyday Americans. Yeah, just go steal, I guess. Her legislation would redistribute. Oh, God. Her legislation would redistribute roughly $6,000 to Americans making less than $100,000 per year. Wow, just kill the economy. Yay, economy dead. Woohoo! All right. Oh, my God. Oh, man, I swear. I don't know. And then, of course, here we go. What's the day without a Muslim invoking Nazi Germany, and an anti-Semite talking about the Nazis? Rashida Tlaib evokes boycott of Nazi Germany to protest resolution denouncing the BDS movement. Well, first let's take a look at the BDS movement vote. House denounces BDS boycott, divestment, and sanctions, which was they were pushing for we should all boycott Israel, divest all our financial interest investments in Israel, and then sanction them on top of it, and sanction anybody who does business with them. Basically, pretty much destroy Israel. Was what they wanted. That's what this whole movement was about. It was gaining a lot of traction on college campuses because they got a lot of lefties on college campuses. Louder can't get much dumber. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one, Reed. I like that. That was good. But yeah, so boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. So basically, it was just a way of saying we just want to destroy Israel. We just want to wipe it off the map, and we're just going to do it by taking away all their money and then sanctioning anybody who does business with them. So they couldn't do business with anybody, buy any weapons from anybody, be defenseless, and just pretty much get rolled over by the Palestinians. Yeah. So anyway, so the House said enough's enough of this shit, and Speaker Pelosi and a whole bunch of others put the bill on the floor. And the vote was pretty outstanding, definitely bipartisan. Although the Republicans wanted more, but they still came through pretty good. The House overwhelmingly is from the Washington Times. The House and Gabriel Munez of the Washington Times. The House overwhelmingly voted to denounce boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement on Tuesday, taking a bipartisan stand in support for the U.S.-Israeli relationship. The resolution, which condemns the BDS movement for promoting principles of collective guilt, mass punishment, and group isolation, passed on a 398 to 17 vote, with 5 members marking themselves present. Now, the people who voted against it was, the famous ones. Ocasio Cortez voted no, Tlaib voted no, and Ilhan Omar voted no. So if you're anti-Semitic, those are the people you should be championing. Like I said the other night, you should leave the site, go over to the Justice Democrat website and say, I want to support Ocasio Cortez, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib because I'm with them. They are me and them are on the same page. We're both anti-Semitics. We're all anti-Semitics, and you got to support Omar and Tlaib and Ocasio Cortez because you guys are on the same page. So if you're anti-Semite, those are your heroes right there. Definitely not Carl's Opinion YouTube channel. Those idiots, okay? So, and definitely not President Trump. No, no way. So anyway, so those are the idiots you can stand with. Idiots. But anyway, so this passed on a 398 to 17 vote, 5 members voting themselves, marking themselves president. I think one of the guys that said president was that Amish guy, the Republican who called for impeachment and just switched to become an independent. Yeah, he showed his true colors too. I think he's from Lebanon, isn't he, or something like that, or he's from some Middle Eastern country. Well, there you go. All right, Democrat and Republican lawmakers alike took to the House floor on Tuesday to praise the bipartisan resolution and warn about the threat BDS poses to Israel and Jewish Americans that support the state. Foreign Affairs Chairman Representative Elliot Engel, a Jewish American lawmaker, blamed the media and said the bipartisan support for Israel was becoming a political issue in a way that I find ugly and harmful to our historic alliance. Well, he should, if well, that sounds real. Whoa, wow, that was real brave. Why don't you just call out the people in the House that are anti-Semites and call them out by name? Why don't you show some balls? Do that. You should have said, I'm looking at you, Representative Tlaib. I'm looking at you, Representative Ocasio Cortez. I'm looking at you, Representative Ilhan Omar. In my opinion, you are all anti-Semites. You have no business being in this House. How come he didn't do that? Let me tell you something. I don't know how many Democrats would have cheered if he said that, but the entire Republican side of that House floor would have all stood up and cheered him if he would have come out loud and said that. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Democrats struggled early this year as Republicans attempted to label them the party of anti-Semitism after Representative Ilhan Omar made a number of controversial comments that many members of her own party considered to be anti-Semitic, including an incident where she accused one Democratic lawmaker of having dual loyalty toward the U.S. and Israel. Ms. Omar and fellow squad member, Representative Rashida Tlaib, vocal supporters of BDS and critics of the Israeli government, pushed back against the resolution, arguing it violated free speech. Tlaib even tweeted it was unconstitutional. Idiot. Members of both sides of the aisle rejected those arguments, saying the resolution notes the importance of free speech and the right to protest for freedoms, but that the BDS movement crosses a line. It is an American value to express, this is from Representative Lee Zeldin, it is an American value to express legitimate, reasonable criticism of any government in the world, including our own. The BDS movement is different, and we must reject the blatant anti-Semitism injected in BDS and the delegitimizing of Israel. Last week, Ms. Omar introduced her own resolution that would affirm that Americans have the right to participate in boycotts in pursuit of civil and human rights at home and abroad. Representative Brad Sherman, one of the more senior Jewish lawmakers in the chamber, brushed off her resolution, saying it was dead on arrival. While supporting the resolution, Republicans called on Democrats to take stronger action. Actually, let's see. Words are hollow. Steve Scalise saying this. Words are hollow if we don't follow up with action. Specifically, GOP lawmakers want to vote on a bill that would allow governments to stop doing business with any participants in the BDS movement. That legislation passed on a strong bipartisan base in the Senate, and the Republican motion is just 22 signatures shy of forcing a full House vote. Senators Marco Rubio, the bill's Senate sponsor, called on the House to take action, arguing it was being held hostage by a handful of members, the idiots. Out of fear of retaliation from the far left wing of our conference, it's clear that Speaker Pelosi has allowed the radical anti-Semitic minority in the Democratic Party to dictate the House floor agenda. He's so right. So let's see what Ms. Tlaib said here. Is this Tlaib here? Oh, no, wrong one. Let's get to, here we go, this one. Let me see. All right, let's see. Rashida Tlaib invokes boycott of Nazi Germany to protest resolution denouncing the BDS movement. Mike Brest of the Washington Examiner. All right. Democrat Representative Rashida Tlaib evoked boycotts of Nazi Germany, like comparing Israel to Nazi Germany. Like an idiot. Okay, of Nazi Germany while speaking on the House floor against a resolution that will condemn the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. The BDS movement calls for a boycott of Israeli goods until they improve the living conditions for Palestinians, but many consider it anti-Semitic because it only targets the Jewish state. Dissent is how we, this is her speaking, dissent is how we nurture democracy and grow to be better and more humane and just. This is why I oppose Resolution 243. All Americans have a constitutional right guaranteed by the First Amendment to freedom of speech, to petition their government and participate in boycotts. Speech is pursuit of civil rights at home and abroad, and is protected by our First Amendment. That is one reason why our First Amendment is so powerful. Tlaib, as well as Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota and John Lewis, this one, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, John Lewis of Georgia introduced a counter resolution last week, implicitly supporting the movement. It did not name the movement, but it would reaffirm people's right to boycott. And here's John Lewis. Okay, this is the guy with the plate in his head from the March on Selma. And John Lewis, I guess he forgets that it wasn't for Jewish Americans, there would have been no civil rights movement. They provided all the logistics, all the legal support, and all the money, primarily the money. Okay? Without that, it would have been another probably 25, 30 years before anything got passed that got passed in the 60s. I guess John Lewis forgets that. It's like, oh, yeah, it was all us. Nobody helped us. It was all on us. Really? Really? Who do you think managed all the logistics? Who moved people around? Who moved people to these sites? Who, did all the interviews with the press? Who got the coverage by the press? Who did all the publicity? Who raised all the money? Who did all that? Where did that come from? These people in the civil rights movement got paid salaries. These people weren't volunteers. They couldn't. You got to eat. People had to get paid. You had big staffs and everything. And I guess he forgets where the money came from. Back in the 50s, it didn't come from the black community in the 50s. Not that kind of money that you would need that kind of a big movement to, the kind of money you need to support a movement like that. That's a lot of money, big money. And that's where it came from. It came from the Jewish community in America. And I guess John Lewis has a real short memory. I don't know, I guess when he got hit in the head, it kind of knocked that out of him, I guess, Oh, well. All right, so Tlaib, as well as Democratic Reps Ilhan Omar of Minnesota and John Lewis of Georgia, introduced a counter-resolution last week implicitly supporting the movement. It did not name the movement, but it would reaffirm people's right to boycott. She continued, Americans of conscience, oh, God. Americans of conscience have long and proud history of participating in boycotts, specifically to advocate for human rights abroad. And then here she goes, Americans boycotted Nazi Germany in response to dehumanization, imprisonment, and genocide of Jewish people. Now, and the sad part is she's in a room full of, there's a lot of Jewish Congress people in there, and they know exactly what she's about. They know she's an anti-Semite. They know she's full of shit. She knows she just wants to see the destruction of Israel. That's all she wants. Okay, so and they're sitting there having to listen to this, and then she's comparing Israel to Nazi Germany. A lot of those Congress people in there have there were relatives of theirs that were killed in the Holocaust. They have relatives they probably grew up with around that survived the Holocaust that told them some pretty horrible stories. And here she is comparing the Israeli state to Nazi Germany. Amazing. I'm sure these people just all want to throw up on her. But anyway, and then in the 1980s, many of us, when she wasn't even born, in this very body boycotted South African goods in the fight against apartheid. Our right to free speech is being threatened with this resolution. Tlaib warned it would set a dangerous precedent, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. All right. Amazing, I tell you. All right. And then, then a Democratic House member suggests Omar and Tlaib don't understand the impact of the BDS movement. And this is Brad Schneider. Now, he's trying to be nice, but I don't know why. He didn't really need to be. Democratic Representative Brad Schneider called the boycott, divest, and sanction movement bigoted and argued that those who support it don't understand the impact. CNN's Dana Bash interviewed Schneider on Tuesday about a House resolution he was co-sponsoring that was voted on today that is expected to be voted on later in the day. It condemns the global BDS movement, blah, 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 blah. So okay, here we go. Let's get to what he said. Bash then brought up his colleagues, Representative Rashida Tlaib of Michigan and Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, who have expressed opposition to the resolution. They both support the movement and question if a law prohibiting the movement would be constitutional. The two of them and John Lewis of Georgia introduced a counter-resolution implicitly supporting the movement last week. This was Schneider to say, this resolution recognizes the right of Americans to petition their government and to take action to express their views. Schneider responded and added, but not every boycott is legitimate or just. he was not willing to call Omar and Tlaib anti-Semitic. Why not? Just call him out on it. These people are always so afraid to just call him out on it. The expression of BDS, what we see on college campuses, the intent to create harassment, hostile environments for supporters of Israel on college campuses to make it difficult for companies that are doing business with Israel in the United States and around the world, that is by its very nature anti-Semitic. The congressman later added, very simply, the fact that they support this movement, I believe they have an understanding of what they believe the movement does without fully understanding the impact of it. Well, I mean, you should just call him out for what he did. So, but anyway, so let's get to another story here. Let me grab another cigarette. Give me a second. If they do not settle down soon, the Republican Congress will take that. Yeah, Solex, it looks like, there might be a possibility they could retake the House in 2020. I agree with you on that. There's another story I'm going to cover here in a little bit where Trump is out in California raising, tons of cash right now because, California Republicans, they kind of sat out giving him money in 2016. They want to see, they didn't know what this guy was about, right? And so, the establishment country club Republicans you find in California, they were kind of like, well, he's so obnoxious and this, that, and the other. Well, because it's not so much that Trump has done a few things to make them happy, obviously, the deregulation and tax cuts and things like that, and the stock market going up. People have made some good money on that. But the main thing is, in the story that we can cover here in a little bit, the main reason why these guys are handing Trump money because he sees how nuts the Democrats are. Not just in the House, but the candidates out there on the campaign trail for president. They're like, holy mackerel! These people just, they're so far. It's like they're so far gone. They'll even vote. These guys will even give money to Trump, and these are like your country club establishment rhino Republicans. But they're like, oh shit! If he doesn't win, he's like the floodgates of these morons are going to open, and these people are going to be running the show. So you're right. So with the way they're acting out there, I totally agree with you. The way they're acting out there. That we could very well take the House as long as all of us go out and vote. I'll say that again. As long as all of us go out and vote. We got to go out and vote. Yeah, because, you know, again, those people didn't. Trump really didn't get a lot of money from the Rhino Republicans in 2016. But yeah, he's getting money from them now. In fact, let me grab that story real quick. I'll see. I'll stick it right here. Let me grab it. Oh, here we go. Let me pull this thing off. All right, here it is. Trump savors California fundraising gold rush, even as left rules the state. Well, I mean, there's no chance he's going to flip California, but he's getting some of their money. And there's a lot of money in California. So anyway, this is from David Drucker of the Washington Examiner. President Trump is cashing in on California as establishment-oriented Republican donors. So it looks like, you see, hold on. Let me fix this. Let's see. There we go. All right, so it looks like your moderator wrench came off, so I just put it back on. That's been happening. So anyway, your moderator wrench is back on, Mr. Solex. So there you go. Yeah, it's just YouTube, man. Whatever. So anyway, it's back on. That happened to me on somebody else's site. I had a wrench, and all of a sudden I went back and it wasn't there. And the host goes, "Hey, where the hell's your wrench?" And I go, "I don't know." And so then he goes, "Here, click," and you put it back on. But there you go. Democrats. Okay, let's see what Solex says. I heard a report that the Democrats actually closed the House Terrorist Committee to be more able to press and load up the impeachment. Oh, they able to press and load up the impeachment committees? Is that true? Oh, you're welcome, man. I don't know. I mean, as far as like maybe pulling some staff off of it to like load up Judiciary, because Judiciary Committee, that's where the impeachment proceedings would start. It would start in the House Judiciary Committee. That's where the first vote would have to be to get to the floor. Would have to come out of House Judiciary. So I mean, maybe they might be moving some additional staff around over probably to Senate Intelligence and to Senate Judiciary Committee, and that's where Mueller's going to be testifying tomorrow, and both in front of he's going to testify I think in the morning in front of Judiciary, and then in the afternoon he's going to testify in front of the House Intel Committee, which of course would just be it's like they just want to keep. They're not expecting Mueller to say anything new. It's just they just want the story out there over and over again. They weren't happy that it came out 3 months ago, And so then it's by having him testify, it just makes it a story again, even though it's the same information. We're not going to learn anything new. It's going to be the same shit. But they just could say up, and then of course like all week, Brian Williams and friends on MSNBC. That's all they've been talking about in the first top of the half hour is what's Mueller going to say? They just keep talking about it over and over again, just to run the story. So he'll testify tomorrow, and then they'll talk about it for tomorrow night, Thursday night, Friday night, then Trump will tweet something and kill the coverage. And of course they'll fall for it because it'll be something outrageous, and they'll say, "Oh my God, this is terrible. What are we gonna do now? Oh my God, what did Trump say this time?" It's like, "Oh, this is terrible." So, he's really good at killing a news cycle. If he wants to kill a news cycle, he just has to say something crazy and outrageous. The press goes crazy and outrageous. All the hand wringing, the big roundtable discussions. The Saturday morning, Sunday morning shows on MSNBC and CNN, and then the candidates out there on the campaign trail, they're not jumping up and down about it. Mueller asked Barr about what limits his testimony can entail tomorrow. Yeah, and Barr said just stick to your report. Because he's testifying as an employee of the Department of Justice. It's a special counsel. It's not the independent counsel. They changed that. Let's see, hold on. Let's see. They changed that law back in the early 2000s, mainly the assistance of Democrats. And I think Nadler was a big guy pushing it because they didn't like what they did to Clinton. And the Republicans even agreed. They voted with him on it. They said, "Yeah, this is kind of crazy what this independent counsel did," and he made everything public, and it was kind of disgusting, and all these volumes of reports and stuff. So they changed the law so that it wouldn't be so independent, under the control of the Department of Justice. So when Mueller got appointed, he got appointed from the district Department of Justice, the Attorney General's office, and he's basically an employee of the Attorney General's office. So, Mueller, when he goes up there, Barr is his boss at that point. He's an employee. And Mueller's been in civil service his whole life, so I think he understands that. But I wouldn't be surprised if Mueller pulled a couple of fast ones. He's still pissed. Comey's like his best friend. And he still doesn't like Trump. He was looking anywhere under every rock to find some evidence of a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Trump and the Russians. Trust me, he looked everywhere, couldn't find anything. So if he could have, he would have. And then plus the way he held on to the information when he realized in the summer of 2018 that there was nothing, you know, instead of coming out publicly and saying, "Hey, good night, Miss Evans, have a great night." But in summer of 2018, when he knew there was no evidence of conspiracy, he could have held a press conference and said, "Well, we got no conspiracy with the Russians. There's no collusion." He could have done that, but no, he wanted to carry the story past the midterms so the Democrats could take the House. That wasn't his job. His job wasn't to make sure the Democrats took the House. His job was to do an investigation, get it done, write a report, and go home. But and plus he was still getting paid. He had a nice big entourage. 19 attorneys. Who knows how many staff members, and he liked his power. Let's be honest. So that's the problem. When you appoint someone like that, and you give them something open-ended, they just keep going and going and going. That's why grand juries can only be sat for 18 months. In a federal court. You see the grand jury for 18 months. If you can't get your case together in 18 months, well, then tough shit. It's over. If you want to try to seat another one, good luck. So anyway, this was President Trump is cashing in on California as establishment-oriented Republican donors initially resistant to his brand of populist nationalism open their checkbooks to keep the White House out of the hands of a liberal Democrat. Trump has seen an uptick in support from wealthy California Republicans, many of whom stayed on the sidelines in the 2016 contest. This country club set remains uncomfortable with the president's. Let's see. Hold on here. Hold on real quick. Let's see something real fast here. Yep. All right. All right. All right, guys. Thanks. Sorry about that. Got to fix something. All right. Trump is seeing an uptick. Here we go. Where are we? Yep. All right, let me get my mouse back in my hand here. Hold on. There we go. All right, see. Trump has seen an uptick in support from wealthy California Republicans, many of whom stayed on the sideline of the 2016 contest. This country club said remains uncomfortable with the president's pugnacious style of communicating, but after watching the unfolding Democratic presidential primary in the House of Representatives controlled by Speaker Pelosi, Republicans fear Washington overrun by liberals more than they do an unbridled Trump. Right? He's like, God, this guy's obnoxious, but these liberals, if they take over, leftists, we're all in trouble. The fundraising. Oh, got a phone call coming in. Hey, I'm on air right now. Are you calling in for the show, or are you just calling to say hi? I'm on air right now, man. You're not on air, but I'm on air. All right, well, I'm on air right now. I'm doing my YouTube channel, man. I'll call you later. Anyway, that was a friend of mine calling. I'm like, hey man, what do you want? So I was like, hey, what are you doing? uh, oh man, that's too funny. But yeah, because I have my contacts thing with connected with my Skype phone calls. So it's like I saw him calling in, like, hey, you're calling in for the show? You're calling to say, hey. But that's kind of funny. But let's see, we'll make sure we're all on. Good. All right, good to go. All right, so let's see. So in other words, what they were saying was like, look, these guys don't like Trump. They think he's too obnoxious. But when they look at the Democrats right now, they say, oh Jesus, Trump may be obnoxious, but he's actually doing pretty good for the economy. He's not going to destroy our whole way of life. Whereas if you vote for the Democrats, forget about it. So basically, they say he's really not too good in the Bay Area, but like Orange and LA County and San Diego County, he's picking up a lot of money. So yeah, so let's get back to let's see, where were we here? John Durham is seeking the interview with Clinton dirt tipster Joseph Misford. Now, Joseph Misford, remember correctly, Misford was the guy who back in March and April of 2016 met with Papadopoulos. And, Misford, see, the reason why Durham wants to talk to Misford is like he knows Misford wasn't working for himself. He knows he wasn't just doing this on his own. So he's like, okay, this is March. Because, like, so Durham's looking at this and saying, okay, the counterintelligence um, operation wasn't officially opened by the FBI until July of 2016. That's when Strzok opened it up. Okay, so we got Downer, we got Misford, all talking to the Trump campaign, pretending like they have, Hillary Clinton's emails. The Russians have it, and they're working. These guys are working for the Russians, and they can get it to Papadopoulos, and then Papadopoulos can give it to the campaign. The campaign can use it to smear Clinton. So, so if the counterintel operation didn't begin till July, and Mitchford wasn't working on his own. He's an Italian spy. He doesn't work for the Russians. He works for the Italians. He lives in Italy. He lives in a villa above Rome. He trains actually a lot of Western intelligence agents, including ours. That's how Brennan knew him, and Brennan's all connected. So he knows if the counterintel operation doesn't start till July, and Mitford is actually doing this in March and April of 2016. Who is he working for? Who did he get his orders from? What orders did he get? What information was he given to then give to go meet with Papadopoulos? How did he know how to meet with Papadopoulos? Why did he meet with him? So what Durham is hoping to get from him is that John Brennan asked me to do him a favor and go give this guy a phony story about Hillary Clinton emails and stuff. There you go. And so that's what he wants to actually do the interview for. Hold on, let me get a cigarette. All right, so let's see. The Department of Justice seeks an interview with Joseph Misford, the Maltese academic who told former Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos that the Russians had damaging information about Hillary Clinton to determine if he was part of an intelligence operation. Right, you want to see, okay, who are you working for? Where did you get this idea from? U.S. Attorney John Durham, who has been tasked by Attorney General William Barr, to lead a review of the origins of the Russia investigation, made an overture to Misford's attorney, Stephen Rowe. Little has leaked about Durham's efforts up until now, other than he began his review in the spring, and he wanted to interview at least one senior counterintelligence official and a senior analyst to examine Russia's role in interfering in the 2016 election. Trump gave Barr full and complete authority to declassify information in his inquiry, and he picked Durham as his right-hand man. Durham as his right-hand man. Sources, including Rowe, confirmed to The Hill that an investigator reached out. If an interview does not pan out, Durham's team at least wants to view a recorded deposition Misford gave in 2018 on his role in the Trump-Russia controversy. Rowe said he would provide at least one page of the deposition to Durham's investigators. One page? He would provide at least one. Let me read that. Is that right? Rowe said he would provide at least one page of the deposition. What the hell is that? Those things are, hundreds of pages. The Justice Department did not immediately respond to the Washington Examiner's request for comment. The revelation about Durham's outreach to Misford, a mysterious figure who has been suspected of deep ties to Russian intelligence, not true, comes on the eve of former special counsel Robert Mueller's public testimony on Capitol Hill. Mueller's 448-page report, released in April with redactions, stated Misford traveled to Moscow on April 16, after which he met with Papadopoulos in London. Mueller's report said that during this meeting, Misford informed Papadopoulos that he learned that the Russians had dirt on Clinton in the form of thousands of emails. Papadopoulos later repeated this claim to Australian diplomat Alexander Downer, who informed the U.S. government and prompted the original counterintel investigation. Right, so basically what this Brennan, the CIA, and Clapper, and Comey, they grab a hold of this guy Misford, who again works for Italian intelligence, and we know this because the Italians came out publicly and said so, and the Prime Minister of Italy fired the number one and number two intelligence officials in his country after he realized that these guys were part of it. And then had a meeting shortly thereafter with Mike Pompeo and Vice President Pence in D.C. Flew all the way out. Like the same day he fired these guys in Italy, he flew out to talk to Pence and Pompeo directly, not on the phone, directly in the White House. And so anyway, so Mueller said he was like a Russian agent. No, he wasn't. And Mueller knew who he was, and he wasn't. Again, the guy lives in Rome, in the hills above Rome. He operates a spy, like a teaching school, if you will, spy school, which trains Western intelligence officers. He's not a Russian asset. He's not a Russian agent. The guy's a lot of bullshit. So, Misford has denied that he told Papadopoulos the Russians had Clinton's emails, and Rowe claims his client had cooperated with Western intelligence and not Russian. And Rowe claims that his client has cooperated with Western intelligence, not Russian intelligence, aligning with what GOP investigators such as Representative Devin Nunes have said. Right. Rowe saying, no, this guy wasn't Russian. He lives in Italy. He works with Italians. He works with the British. He works with the Americans. He works with the French. Mueller's report only went as far as to say Misford had connections to Russia. Well, all spies have connections to Russia, okay? Even when the Russians know they're a spy, they still talk to him because, they trade information and, they try to keep the lid on, trust but verify. In other words, we spy on them, they spy on us because we're all just making sure we're honest, okay? And we all let it happen. As long as you don't commit any kind of like espionage, like you go blow shit up, you can generally be a spy for the CIA running around Russia. It's not like they don't know. It's not like remember when they had those sanctions and we kicked all the Russians out? Well, we were kicking out their spies. It's like it wasn't like we didn't know who they were. We know those are the spies. Okay, and the same thing. We got a bunch of spies over there. And not like they don't know who they are either. So it's like so Mueller knew this guy wasn't a Russian agent. He knew he was an Italian agent. He worked for the Italians. As part of Mueller's Russian, and then he says, so he had connections to Russia and maintained various Russian contacts. Yeah, they all do. That's called spies. I mean, watch a movie. I mean, read a book. I mean, anything. Spy Game, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I mean, the guy who wrote Tinker Tailor was actually a former MI6 officer from the 70s or something. I mean, of course you have contacts. So I mean, but he puts that out there, making it sound like, oh, he's a Russian agent. No, he wasn't. Okay, so why was he meeting him, giving him this phony information to Papadopoulos? Then 3 months later, 4 months later, 3 months later, he meets with Downer in a bar, gets drunk, and then Downer says, oh, he said he has some, ability to get, the Hillary Clinton emails from the Russians. Oh, we better open a counterintel investigation. Bullshit. They told Mitchell what they say. They told Downer what he was supposed to hear. And then they say, oh, based on what Papadopoulos said to Downer, we got to open this counterintel investigation, which is bullshit. See, this is why, as far as like the obstruction case against Trump, is bullshit. See, Trump knew he did nothing wrong. I mean, like 100%. Like if you didn't, like somebody accuses you of murder, and like you're in a foreign, you're like somebody says you killed somebody in Italy, and you've never been to Italy. You say, well, that's crap. But then these people keep hounding you for it, and they know you weren't in Italy either. But they keep going after you, and then they put stories in the press, and they keep beating you up, and they keep attacking you, and they keep investigating you, even though everybody in the room knows you weren't in Italy. There's no way you could have killed this guy. So, in other words, with Trump, with his whole obstruction, Trump knew he did nothing wrong. And to make it worse, he knew the guys investigating him. They knew he did nothing wrong, but they were still going after him. So, of course, he was pissed off at him. Because he's like, hey, man, I know I didn't do any of this. You're just doing this to try to take me down, try to take down this country because you're pissed off Hillary Clinton didn't win. You know I didn't do anything. You're still coming after me. Stop it. And they won it. And Comey's like, good. Well, fuck you, Comey. And now we know Comey had a little spy running around the White House. Let's see if I can pull that story up. His little inside guy that he sent over there to keep an eye on Trump, to spy on him. Let's see if we can find that story. Where was it? There we go. Let's see. Trump was right about Comey, and Comey keeps proving it. This is from, again, the Washington Examiner, July 23rd. As information continues to emerge about the investigation into President Trump's alleged ties with Russia, one thing is clear. Trump was right to fire James Comey. Let's see. What is Tolex right? People really should understand Western intelligence means the European Union, the USA, is not Western or Eastern. Oh. Okay. I will have to think about that. All right, thanks, Mr. Solex, for making me think. That's totally cool. All right, so let's see here. Let's see. So throughout this 2-year investigation, just about every one of his twists and turns, Comey has been at its center. Whether he's bragging about, he was on air tonight. He was on air tonight talking about the investigation of Bob Mueller and all that shit. Tonight, he was over there on MSNBC. It's like, hey, like people still listen to this guy. I mean, this guy leaked classified information. Oh, but he did it to save the country. No, he didn't. He did it to save his own ass. Okay, that's why he did it, and he was pissed. He was pissed he got fired. All right, let's see here. Okay, so whether he's bragging about taking advantage of a disorganized administration or leaking to the press information that would force the Justice Department to appoint a special counsel, organizing a quote-unquote insurance plan to prevent a Trump presidency, or using political opposition research to justify wiretapping an American citizen, Comey proves that his political nature might be as impregnable as his self-righteousness. Now we know that Comey installed a mole in the White House to feed the FBI information about Trump and his aides in 2017. This inside man, Anthony Ferrante, helped Comey run a covert operation against the president, according to 2 U.S. officials. The arrangement was in direct conflict with the no-contact policy between the White House and the Department of Justice, said one former National Security Council official. Comey has made it clear that he has no problem bending the rules to advance his agenda, and is indeed an agenda dedicated to one man and one man only, James Comey. He could have gotten away with it, too, if it wasn't for those meddling people. Comey admitted as much last year when he said his political maneuvers were something I probably wouldn't have done or maybe gotten away with under a different administration. The conundrum of James Comey, as Rich Lowry put it, was that even though Comey deserved to be fired, firing him helped Comey and hurt Trump. It would have been better to have Comey inside the tent leaking and maneuvering for his own advantage than to have him outside leaking and maneuvering for his own advantage, Lowry wrote. Might have a point. So Comey underestimated his political influence. In many ways, his involvement in the Russia investigation has discredited it. Few people outside the Democratic Party believe Trump colluded with Russia to steal the 2016 election. H.A. Goodman talked about this really good. He goes, so let me get this straight. So the Russians hacked, in other words, they're claiming collusion, like Trump had something to do with the Russians hacking the DNC servers, and putting out the information that Bernie Sanders got cheated. So H.A. Goodman's like, okay, let me get this straight. So the Russians hacked the DNC servers to tell the world that Bernie Sanders was cheated. Okay. Like, of course, what bullshit is that? I mean, that means nothing. Like, no, he got leaked by some Democratic insider who didn't like what they were doing to Sanders, so he leaked it all, and they all got caught with their pants down. Okay, it was like Russians like they're gonna hack the DNC. Then they hacked the DNC just to put out info that Bernie Sanders is getting cheated. Okay, that's a hell of an operation just to do that. Excuse me. Still, see, Comey, in many ways, his involvement in the Russian investigation has discredited it. Few people outside the Democratic Party believe Trump colluded with Russia to steal the 2016 election. But Comey knew that a costly, time consuming investigation into the allegations would stain the Trump presidency, regardless of its outcome. It did, and as evidence continues to emerge, it's obvious this was Comey's goal all along. Special Counsel Robert Mueller's investigation was, in fact, necessary, but it was necessary in part because of Comey's political maneuvering. The allegations against Trump made it clear that he needed an unbiased source to issue a verdict, and he found that in Mueller, who found no evidence of collusion. None. Mueller will testify about his findings before Congress on Wednesday, tomorrow morning. Perhaps the investigation would have taken place without Comey's help. Possible. I don't think so. He certainly does. He certainly doesn't think so. Well, no, of course he says, Comey, I saved the planet, but Comey is not Shakespeare's Brutus, as he seems to think. He abused his power and then claimed he did so for the sake of the nation. But Comey continues to prove there's only one person who's acting for himself. I agree. All right. Adam Schiff fuels House Intel Committee. Dysfunction with the Trump Russia fixation. So Adam Schiff fuels House Intelligence Committee dysfunction with this whole Trump Russia fixation. Agreed. It's from the Washington Times. When Representative Adam Schiff convened the House Intelligence Committee's first meeting this year, the California Democrat declared that his top priority would be restoring civility to a panel that spent the first 2 years of the Trump administration driven by deep divisions over the occupant of the White House. It hasn't gone so well. Yeah, I mean, if that's what he claimed, I mean, when he first got in there, he started calling the president a criminal. As soon as he got that chairmanship, as soon as he got that gavel. So bullshit. Like I want to, my top priority is restoring the civility. No, I mean he was the most uncivil guy there was. As soon as he got in charge, I mean I don't know how he can even say that with a straight face. To be honest with you. So, by the committee's second public meeting, Schiff had accused President Trump of crimes. The Republicans demanded his resignation as chairman, saying he was too biased to lead a panel that long had been the bastion of bipartisanship on Capitol Hill. Yeah, the Intel committees were the only truly real bipartisan committees on Capitol Hill. They generally got along really well. They generally, the vice chair and the chair always got along, and the vice chair wanted to subpoena anybody with no problems. Just say, chair would be like, no problem. Whoever you want to talk to, whatever you want to do, I don't care. And regardless of what party was in power. And then, the Democrats come along and, this whole Trump derangement syndrome, and they just changed the whole way the Congress works, including the House Intel and Senate, the House, not so much the Senate Intel Committee, but definitely the House Intel Committee. So 6 months into Schiff's tenure as chairman, he's receiving mixed reviews for his work in trying to turn down the heat. Supporters say he has made significant strides in forging bipartisan consensus on cybersecurity and media manipulation, but his apparent quest to find a smoking gun to prove a Trump-Russia conspiracy offsets those efforts in the minds of critics. Former special counsel Robert Mueller spent nearly 2 years investigating and found no evidence of a conspiracy between Trump or his campaign and Russia's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. And hearing Wednesday could go a long way toward defining the committee's reputation and character for years to come, analysts say. Get the balance wrong, the committee could lose standing among the very people who's created to oversee the intelligence community. And, it's a big problem there. Let's see if there's any other. Pretty much all the stories I'm going to cover. Let me just double check to see if there's anything else I had up here. Let's see. Take a look real quick. There's a good story from immigrationreform.com. Take a look at this one. Media is heading in wrong direction on driver's licenses for illegal aliens. Although there's a funny twist to this story is that, remember you got these governors pushing for illegal aliens to be able to have driver's licenses. Well, guess what? The feds have been able to look at your driver license databases, for decades. I think since 1994. Maybe even before then, but they kind of tied it down to a statute after that. So now that you have these illegals with driver's licenses, the feds can access the database, and now they can see who's illegal, who's not. And now these governors are like, oh shit, what do we do? But anyway, here, check this story out. So this is from immigrationreform.com. If you're not a subscriber to it, I suggest you do become one. It's really, really good. A lot of good stories that aren't covered in the mainstream media or even covered on Fox, to be honest with you. All right, take a look at this. By David Yaroslav from today. On July 7th, the Washington Post broke what quickly became a bombshell story. Over at least the past 5 years, federal law enforcement personnel from both the FBI and ICE have turned state driver's license databases into a facial recognition goldmine, and even the bedrock of an unprecedented surveillance infrastructure. The Post expressed horror at the notion that federal law enforcement agencies would use state driver's license databases. DMV records, according to the Post, are different from fingerprints, DNA, and other biometric data taken from criminal suspects, because most drivers have never been charged with a crime. They further noted that neither Congress nor state legislatures have authorized the development of such a system. And anyway, this guy goes on to write, it may come as something as a surprise to the Post that driving is a privilege, not a right, and two, Congress actually has created exactly such a system in the Driver's Privacy Protection Act, the DPPA of 1994, which specifically authorizes disclosure of driver's license information for, quote, for use by any government agency, including any court or law enforcement agency, in carrying out its functions. The DPPA even survived a constitutional challenge that went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. Go figure. I guess the Post kind of didn't Google that right. Should have Googled it. I tell people, Google it. If you're not sure, Google it. You know, I get ready to do a show and I don't know something, I Google it. I'm on air, and I'm like, I better Google that or DuckDuckGo it. If you want to use DuckDuckGo, fine. I don't care. I use Google. Whatever. Anyway, so nonetheless, the story was like a dam breaking as it unleashed significant backlash against using the information contained in the driver's license databases. Congressman Elijah Cummings of Maryland said the law enforcement searches of driver's records were often done in the shadows with no consent. Not to be rhetorically outdone, of course, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio Cortez decried the searches as part of a sinister global rise in authoritarianism and fascism. Wow. Yeah, well, Cummings is like, God damn, what I said I thought was pretty good, and you got to come along and outdo me with this crazy shit. Anyway, several states, notably Illinois, Utah, Vermont, Washington, rushed to assure people they would now be restricting or outright preventing ICE from accessing their records. In New York, the director of the New York, excuse me a second, grab some water. In New York, the director of the New York Immigrant Coalition condemned Governor Andrew Cuomo for scaring hardworking immigrants into staying in the shadows by continuing to evoke the ICE boogeyman, despite governor being the one who are, despite the governor being the one who to have recently signed New York's green light law authorizing driver's license for illegal aliens. In response, ICE noted that during the course of an investigation, it has the ability to collaborate with external, local, federal, and international agencies to obtain information that may assist in case completion and prosecution efforts. This is an established procedure that is consistent with other law enforcement agencies. The FBI added that the technology was key to preserve our nation's freedoms, ensure our liberties are protected, and preserve our security. There are many reasons to be hopeful about this new development. First, it may bring the ongoing push that has led 13 states granting drivers to illegal aliens to a grinding halt, and maybe even encourage states that have granted licenses to illegal aliens to reconsider their decision. Second, if ICE and other federal law enforcement agencies are going to be condemned anyway for even seeking this evidence, then they might as well get it and use it. Ta-da! That's it. There you go. So that's actually kind of funny. These governors are like, oh, we want illegals to have driver's licenses. I mean, and then forgetting that there was a law passed in 1994 that allows the feds, including ICE, to be able to access driver's license databases. So now ICE can just pull up the database and say, oh, illegal alien. Oh, that's nice. Who's this guy? That's pretty cool actually. So let me cut over here. But I think it's pretty funny when the left does something like that and they just shoot themselves right in the foot. I get a big kick out of stuff like that. So yeah, that was pretty good. So, but anyway, hey, I'm gonna call it an evening for tonight, and I've been on for about an hour. It's been pretty good, some pretty good stories here I wanted to cover. I know a lot of people are covering, Mueller and all that shit, like the hearing for tomorrow. But there's some good backstories that we covered here tonight on that. But as far as the hearings are going to be what the hearings are going to be. Tomorrow night it'd be like, oh well, everybody's going to have a different version. The left's going to say, oh, see, there's a smoking gun. I mean, even though it's the same smoking gun, the 448 pages from like 3 months ago, and oh my God, this is terrible. And then they'll run the story for at least another 3 4 days, and again until Trump decides to kill the news feed. He probably won't kill it tomorrow night. He'll let it run for at least a day, and then by Thursday he should be able to tweet something really crazy out, and that'll draw the attention and draw the fire over back to him and away from the stupid Mueller testimony. So it should be pretty good. But hey, I want to thank everybody who's been in the chat room tonight. I want to thank everybody who's been viewing us and everybody who'll be watching us later. So for Carl's opinion, this is Carl. Everybody have a great night. And Solix, Rocky especially, thank you guys, and Rita, and we'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.